a shout out right now for noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. So, is investing in silver today a good idea? Well, Colin Plume from our friends at noblegoldinvestment.com, they think so. On the national desk, he explained there have been huge sell-offs of silver because of the low price right now. Silver is the most useful industrial metal out there, and demand for it is soaring for electronics and electric cars and solar panel circuits and on and on and on. The Green New Deal is increasing the need for silver. As industries pick up after the pandemic supply chain issues, the trend now should reverse quickly and silver's prices should skyrocket. So don't miss this. Give the team at noblegoldinvestment.com a call. And that number is 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. If you set up a silver or gold IRA, $20,000 or more, they will send you this stunning 3 ounces of pure silver American Virtue coin. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous collector's item. It's 3 ounces of pure silver. It can be yours for free if you set up, and you do need to look at your 401k or your IRA, your rollover. You need to diversify. You know you do. The stock market most of you, your 401k in the last year has lost 30% of its value. Some of you worse than that. It's time for you to get in control of your own destiny. Put some of your money into silver. And when the price of silver goes up, instead of losing money, you'll be gaining and protecting your value.
Hello everyone, once again it's BC Begley, and I'm doing another video for Pastor Paul Begley. He is out today. Like I said, once again I've got about 5 more news articles real quick I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention. The first one is kind of crazy. Both Koreas exchanged warning shots near the maritime border. Okay, so North and South Korea both exchanged warning shots off the west coast on Monday. They both accused each other of breaching their western maritime border amid heightened military tension. Now, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said it broadcast warnings and fired warning shots to see off a North Korean merchant vessel that crossed the northern limit line, the de facto sea boundary, at around 3:40 a.m. local time. Now, North Korea's military said it fired 10 artillery shells after a South Korean Navy ship violated the northern limit line, and it fired warning shots, quote, on the pretext of tracking down an unidentified ship, according to North Korea's state military. Now, this is the latest exchange of fire, and it has come amid simmering tension with the North carrying out weapons tests at an unprecedented pace this year. All right, moving on now. So German and EU leaders are calling for Ukraine's Marshal Plan. So rebuilding Ukraine is now going to be, quote, a generational task that must begin now, according to Germany's Olaf Scholz and the EU's Ursula von der Leyen. Ukrainian and German experts are meeting in Berlin to discuss support for the reconstruction effort. Now, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen have both called for a strategy to rebuild Ukraine after the war as experts meet in Berlin for an economic forum. Quote, even if one should always be careful with historical comparisons, the issue here is nothing less than creating a new Marshall Plan for the 21st century, Scholz and von der Leyen wrote in an essay that was published in the German newspaper. Now, the two described the reconstruction of Ukraine as a, quote, generational task that must begin now. Scholz is due to open the German-Ukrainian Business Forum in Berlin on Monday with Ukraine's prime minister in attendance. The meeting is set to focus on post-war rebuilding efforts and international community support. Now, on another story, let's go to China, where former Chinese leader Jintao was unexpectedly let out of a room as party congress came to a close. So China's former top leader Jintao was unexpectedly let out of Saturday's closing ceremony of the Communist Party Congress in a moment of drama, really, during what is typically a highly choreographed event for the country. Now, Hu is 79, and he was seated in a prominent position at the front table in the Great Hall of the People in Beijing directly next to his successor, the current leader, Xi Jinping, when he was approached by a staff member suddenly, and the video of the meeting starts to show that while seated, Hu appeared to talk briefly with the male staff member, while China's third most senior leader, Li Zhanshu, who was seated to the other side, had his hand on the chair behind Hu's back. Hu then appeared to rise after briefly being lifted by the staff member who'd taken the former leader by the arm. While Kong Xiaozun, head of the party's secretariat, came over, Hu spoke with the two men briefly and initially appeared reluctant to leave. Hu was then escorted by the two men from his seat, with the staff member holding his arm as other party members seated behind the main table looked on. The circumstances surrounding Hu's exit are not clear. On his way out, Hu was seen to pause and appeared to say something to Xi, and then patted Premier Li Kengzhang on the shoulder. Both Xi and Li appeared to nod. It was not clear what Xi said in reply. At one point, while Hu was still seated, Xi appeared to place his hand over a document that Hu was attempting to reach, for preventing him from doing so. Now, due to the opacity of Chinese elite politics, the party is highly unlikely to offer a public explanation on Hu's sudden exit. The dramatic moment has not been reported anywhere else in Chinese media or discussed on Chinese social media, where such conversation is highly restricted, but it has set off a firestorm of speculation overseas. Now let's go to Germany, where elite German law enforcement officers are now preparing for nationwide blackouts amid fears of nationwide gas outages. That is correct. Elite units within Germany's federal police are now preparing for blackouts in the country amid fears that the country could completely run out of gas by the end of February. Specialist elements of Germany's federal police force are now reportedly preparing to deal with blackouts in the country amid nationwide fears that the country could run out of gas by February. It's been brought about a perfect storm of Germany's Green Agenda meeting the political reality of the Ukraine war. A loss of Russian gas exports has left the Central European state potentially unable to fill the gaping hole left in its energy economy. Such a problem will now likely result in many in the country being unable to adequately heat their homes over the winter months, with senior officials having also expressed fears that the nation could experience rolling blackouts as a result of the crisis. Now, according to a report by Die Welt, elite police officers at the federal level are also now drawing up such plans, with it being announced that units across the country are having their numbers reinforced to deal with the fallout of any possible blackouts. With it being warned that Germany could run out of gas as early as February, the blackouts caused by such a grid collapse would be expected to result in rioting and mass looting, a significant challenge to local law enforcement who would likely have limited access to energy themselves. All right, so back in the United States, President Biden finally admitted that it's, quote, totally legitimate to question his age and health. That's right, the United States President Joseph Biden admitted in an interview on Sunday that it was, quote, totally legitimate to have concerns over his age and health. While appearing on MSNBC's The Sunday Show with host Jonathan Capehart, Mr. Capehart questioned the president on growing doubts from his supporters, such as his Aunt Gloria, on whether he should run again in the year 2024. And although President Biden suggested that Capehart's aunt should, quote, take a look if she's nervous, he called the concerns totally legitimate. Quote, I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about anyone's age, including mine. That's totally legitimate, but I think the best way to make the judgment is to, watch me. Am I showing up? Am I don't have the same pace? Biden said. He also added that there could very well be issues that prevent him from running again in 2024, though President Biden considers those issues highly unlikely. Guys, stick around for this commercial. Unmasking Halloween. Get your tickets now. Unmasking Halloween. What is Halloween? Why do people celebrate it? What is the history behind it? And what are the spiritual dark forces connected to it? Join Pastor Paul Begley and BC Begley on Halloween night as they attempt to answer these questions and more and a 2-part presentation. Go to www.paulbegleyprophecy.com to order your tickets today.